Elon Musk loves to chide people who may be on some government assistance, chide people who, maybe didn't have it as good as he did, or who may have some dependency. What he normally fails to tell you is he lives a life of dependency. He lives a life on the government dole. So as he takes over Twitter and do all this talking, we ought to remember that there ain't no Elon Musk without government welfare for Elon Musk. All right? Elon Musk is a welfare recipient, more so than any food stamp recipient, more so than just about everybody. So check it out, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Twitter has been putting some new labels on certain accounts, and it is causing quite an uproar. It started when Elon Musk slapped a label on NPR's account, calling it U.S. state-affiliated media. That led to a lot of criticism, so he changed the label to government-funded media. Now, there's a similar controversy going on in the UK after Twitter added a government-funded label to the BBC's account. Back with us tonight in person, the Queen herself, Kara Swisher, editor-at-large of New York Magazine and host of 2 podcasts, Pivot and On with Kara Swisher.
Yeah, actually 3. I have
3? Yeah. Oh, of course, the Succession podcast, which I could talk about for days. But let's start with Elon.
Back?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Let's start with Elon Musk. What do you make of these labels for NPR and the BBC? And is it Elon Musk or is it Twitter, or they're one and the same?
No, they're one and the same. Everything Twitter does now is Elon Musk. And so that's all you have to, he just wants to do it because he's playing. But he also, if you notice, took the W off of the title of the company, which I guess I can't say on NBC, so that he made a little joke about women's breasts.
Titter.
Yes, titter, yeah. So he does stuff like that. So whatever he does, he does. He's done it in San Francisco right on the actual sign.
But isn't that silly and so unfortunate, given how powerful, how influential he is?
Yeah. So the state-owned thing is just him just acting out. And of course, when you say government-funded, there's actually someone I can think of that was government-funded, and that's Elon Musk and Twitter. He got his first funding that saved the company from the government. Now he paid it back, which is great, and that's how our government should work, is funding promising companies. But he's government-funded. So he does SpaceX, also government-funded. Lots of things that Tesla does gets all kinds of government funding and subsidies. So he should know about government funding if he's talking about it.
People are doing.
And also NPR actually has very little of its funding from government. It's a very tiny amount. I think it's 1 or 2%. Most of it is corporate money and donations. And so it's not really that government-funded. That's a myth around that. BBC is a different story, but still.
Yeah, if you're doing your taxes this week and you drive an electric car, you get a credit if you have one. Do you think this is just him picking fights with journalists? And if so, why?
He needs enormous amounts of attention. So anything he can insert himself into, he does. And this causes attention to him. So every week he's got to have a stunt, and that recalls someone else that we spend a lot of time focusing in on. And so the more, which is Trump, is the more trouble they make, the loud things they put on, whatever, it causes them attention. And they can't stand being out of the limelight. I guess. I don't know. I'm not a psychologist.
Let's talk about Twitter and Substack. They started to limit how the newsletter platform can show up on the site. It actually had Matt Taibbi, the guy who was all over the Twitter files. At one point, you could say he was maybe even an ally or Twitter adjacent, to leave the platform entirely. What's going on here?
Well, it's a competitor. They created a competitive product called Notes, and they put it up, and then he decided he didn't want to help them market it. I think that's as simple as that. And Twitter's has a history of doing this. They took Instagram off of Twitter. You weren't able to see the pictures you used to be able to. And that makes sense from a competitive point of view. I suppose that's the way he was thinking. And he doesn't have to put anything he doesn't want on the service. But,
ultimately he could do it to any media organization, right? Deciding NBC shouldn't have their tweets boosted or not boosted or whatever. You have to pay him if you want them boosted. And so he's trying any way he can to come up with a business, and meanwhile trying to limit other people's business. So if Casey wants to go into it or they're competitors, he pulls them away. The issue is he's got to come up with a business that makes money.
Well, you used to be a massive tweeter, and you've definitely dialed it back.
Yes, and I don't allow comments because the comments have gotten so vile. I've cut off comments. And it's unfortunate because I loved, talking to people. I like when people who don't know me, I respond to them. I think people like that. It creates a really vibrant thing. But he's been hostile to,
I consider myself a content creator on Twitter.
You are?
I am. I make a lot of content for him. I did Twitter Spaces, not for him, but for Twitter. And what's it worth my while to do so now? There's nothing. I just get yelled at. I get called names, and then I get insulted by all his minions.
So don't forget, if you are on Twitter, you're providing content, you're providing free labor for, like we do here as well, free labor for Elon Musk. But more importantly, it's important for you to realize that Elon Musk is on the, you know what, the dole with the government. There's nothing that Elon Musk did with SpaceX that we didn't do back in the 90s, that the Apollo didn't do back in the 60s. And guess what? We were able to go to the moon and back with a computer that was more than 100 times less powerful than this, my phone. We left the Earth atmosphere, left the Earth's orbit, went into the orbit of the moon, okay, and came back. Elon Musk could barely touch space and come back, and the media went crazy. It shows you how when a media is owned by the corporatocracy, they can tell you what is news or what really makes sense. Elon Musk accomplished very little with his suborbital flight because he didn't do anything we hadn't done before. All the technology used, the orbital technologies, the gyroscopic technologies, all these technologies that he used to do what he did were already developed back in the 60s, the 50s, and before. When I worked on the space station, the technology that we use pretty much did more so than what he did. After all, the space station is still up. And Skylab, we brought it down, but it stayed up for quite a while. So let's get it straight. The people that always like to talk about people being on the dole, they're the ones so often that are on the biggest dole there is. Don't ever forget it, and don't buy into the carapa that these guys like to talk about. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.